Welcome to the Fire and Earth podcast with your hosts, Jason Mefford and Kathy Gruber. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential.
Welcome to another episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason Mefford.
And I am Kathy Gruber, and we are so excited to be here, and we're so excited to have one of our favorite guests back, a dear friend of mine, an amazing human being, an amazing magician. We have Hannibal with us again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, Hannibal.
Hey, Hannibal.
Thank you for having me. It was really great to be back. It's great to see friendly, happy faces again.
Yay. We do our best. We scowled through the entire last show, so we thought we'd try to be friendly for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome to the fire.
Should we do it? Yeah. Should we do one of those like
Welcome to
this
the
is the Mad Fire and Earth podcast. Today we're just going to be grumpy.
Oh, so like every other day of everybody I see. Yeah. So anyway, so speaking of every other day, so we were talking before we got on the air about what should we talk about, and the three of us were like, what do you want to talk about? Which is, kind of fun. So we settled on like mindset and resilience and moving forward now that we're getting back to normal, not getting back to normal. We talked about the job force and all this sort of stuff off the air. So we're going to kind of revisit all that and see where this conversation goes. So follow along. We're going to have some fun.
We'll title this Getting Back to the New Normal.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. We can thank you for helping me do my job.
Yeah.
Would you like to, do you want to write the show notes for him to do? And we'll just
make it a whole thing. Sure.
Well, no, because I think it's appropriate because, last time that we did talk, it was right after we were getting into all this stuff. Right. And all of us were like, shit, what are we going to do? Right. Because we all work in industries and in ways that usually have a high live or touch point, with people. And so everybody's had to really become resilient, do things different. I know you've had to do things a lot different because you couldn't be in front of a live audience anymore. And so maybe how things have changed, how you've kind of done it, because I think if we've learned anything, or hopefully what I hope we learned during this, is to be resilient and to push through whatever ends up coming our way.
Exactly. You have to do with what's put into your hands, whether that, a gift or a challenge. You take those things and you accept them for what they are, and you move forward and keep on your path, regardless of which of those two things you're handed.
Well, I have a philosophical question then. So you just said whether you're handed a gift or a challenge. Aren't we just handed a thing and then we put that label on it? I mean, if we look at situations, we can label anything. And if we get sort of like Eckhart Tolle-ish.
Right. To say what is good and what is bad.
Yeah. Because I actually found huge gifts that came out of COVID and huge gifts that have come out of like every, I look back at all this bad stuff that happened, and I can now see the gift in that. I can see the learning in that. So. Well,
only if you take the word challenge as a negative word. A challenge could be a great gift. Yes, you're 100% correct about that, because you set your goals, you set your boundaries, you set whatever, and those are your challenges. And when you rise to meet those, that is you giving yourself a gift. When you decide, less of. I think that's why I use the word challenge rather than obstacle.
Yeah.
Because of course, the obstacle is, according to Stoic, philosophy, the obstacle is the way.
Yeah.
You improve yourself by, challenging the obstacle and taking it on there. But yeah, absolutely right. Lots of there was the opportunity to simply wallow or sit down or give up to a certain extent, and just wait it, there's nothing I can do. Or you could, here's the situation. What am I going to do in a positive light to keep moving forward, to keep with resiliency and persistence in walking your road? And that, once I accepted that, it was a huge benefit in my mind, a huge inspiration.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I was actually listening to, it was an old documentary with Joseph Campbell, where he was talking about, they brought up the whole idea of suffering. And so kind of to that point, that the obstacle is the way. And the point that, human life is suffering, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Typically in one way or another. But again, it's like you said, it's the label that you put on it. Is suffering a bad thing, or challenge is a bad thing? And I think to a lot of people, our knee-jerk reaction is, well, of course they are. They're bad things, right? And we like to put good, bad labels on everything.
We do. We really do.
But really, it is the only way that we grow is by pushing through, or accepting those challenges, or accepting, again, if you want to label it suffering, but whatever it is that we're doing, that's what makes us stronger. When we stand up, when we become powerful and push through, that's when we actually learn.
Right. That's how muscles grow.
Absolutely. Well, and if you look at, I can't remember if it was Thich Nhat Hanh or someone wise like that said, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. So we're going to have these experiences that pop up. And I guess I'm just quoting everyone today. Eckhart Tolle says, it's not the situation that causes the unhappiness and the suffering. It's our narrative around it. It's the stories we tell ourselves. It's that, why am I stuck in line? And these people are too slow. And that's all in our head. That has nothing to do with people standing in front of us. And we give into this like mind chatter. And I think that's where the suffering comes from.
Precisely. And, it's the philosopher Jagger once said, you can't always get what you want. But
I love that we brought in rock and roll too.
But you just might get what you need.
Yep.
There's a secondary correlation to that.
Yes. Very wise. There's wisdom everywhere. I love that we can find wisdom anywhere. Yeah. So, yeah. So you also said something, Hannibal, about acceptance. And I think that's the other thing is like, we all had this shock of, wait, we can't leave our house. Wait, I can't go to the grocery store. And, I think everybody had that moment of wallow. Yes. Mine lasted about 3 days of my business is going to fail. All my speaking gigs canceled. I can't, because everything I did was in person, massage, hypnosis, speaking. Like every aspect of my job like failed. Exactly. And I wallowed for about 3 days. And then I found the joy of Pokemon. Played that for several days, realized that laying in the hammock and playing Pokemon with my boyfriend was a joy. I had a blast with that. And then it became, and then you had to like evaluate and go, okay, now what? And that's when I started writing the book and I did my coaching training and I started doing day trips and I started organizing, reaching out to speak, people I had spoken for before and said, how about a webinar? That wallow trigger, and then that acceptance triggered the action.
Well, also just as coming back to a point you made there, having that moment of wallow and then laying in a hammock playing Pokemon with my boyfriend is a great thing. I think a lot of us also found the benefits of just stopping. Like in the previous world that we used to live in, it was this: when can I book the next show? When can I make the next speech? When can I this, that, and the other? But now we found a lot of value in, today I'm just going to play Pokemon. Today I'm just going to do puzzles. I'm gonna write, or I'm gonna read for my own pleasure, and I'm not gonna worry about where something's coming from because nothing's coming.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think it seems like that's almost caused people to kind of reevaluate some of their values or the things that they have been doing as well. I think, right? And I think we're seeing that now more and more in decisions people are choosing to make, or maybe choosing not to make. Right. Where in the past we would have normally done certain things. Now we're like, why the hell am I doing that? I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
Why would I? And simplifying. And becoming a bit more minimalist in what we think we need or what we feel we want to have around. I got to a point really early on in COVID where it was like I realized that for my entire, let's just use the word career, why not? I always felt like, well, if I don't have a restaurant, or if I'm not working at the castle, or if I don't have corporate whatever coming in, I can always go set up my table on the street somewhere and perform and pay my bills. And then it was like, no, you can't even do that anymore. Yeah. You can't take it back even to the simplest thing, because nobody's going to allow you to be on the street talking to random strangers.
And there's not going to be anybody on the street anyway.
Right. My worst case scenario wasn't rock bottom, wasn't the worst case, it turns out. So you had to, okay, so what do I do instead? Work on me, write more, plan for things when come back. I got very creative there for a long time and put together a lot of new things, which was I might not have done had I been constantly working, and I'm very pleased with a lot of the direction that my art is going in these days.
That's so cool.
It's oddly enough, because I was so isolated for so long, a great deal of the new things that I'm writing are very interactive and very, very personal on a small scale audience, right? Doing planning for smaller audiences rather than vast ones. So it's been a huge boon to the new direction or the new path or whatever opened up in front of me.
Yeah. I found that sitting in that stillness, because I'm not still. I mean, it's go, 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 work, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve. My Capricorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then I was forced to sit in that stillness. And I remember sitting down and going, I'm going to be broke. I'm going to lose everything. And I went, Groover, no, you're not. And I sat down and I did math, which I don't do. And I don't like it, but I did it. And I went, I'm actually going to be fine seeing 6 or 7 clients a week. Wait, if I'm fine seeing 6 or 7 clients, how do I think I'm not fine seeing 20 clients? What is wrong? And I actually looked at stuff and went, if I can survive a year of not working, and I had a little trickle of clients and I had some online stuff, but if I can survive that and still put money away, why do I think I can't survive on 20? So I did more math and I looked at my clients, and I now take Thursday mornings off to spend time with my boyfriend. I only see 4 clients a day instead of 7 clients a day. I don't do evenings. I don't do weekends. And it's I upped some of my prices. And I realized it's I have a different complete idea of what success is, of what balance is, of what I want my life to look like. And that came out of sitting in that stillness. And I wouldn't have done that any other way.
You turned inward towards yourself to see what your actual needs were, rather than society says, I need to do this to be successful. I need to have this much money put away. I need to see this money. I need to be constantly working, or I'm not working.
Right. And even now, I get an opening in a day and I go, I gotta fill. And I was no, I don't have to fill that. Actually, I can rest, or I can get a massage. Oh my God. Or I could go for a walk, or I can have lunch with girlfriends, or, it's I have to, it's so hard. We're all entrepreneurs. And so there is that, that constant build, grow thing. And when you start to let it release, it's terrifying, because that's not what the entrepreneur mindset is. It's keep going is what our brain tells us to do.
At heart, I'm a performance artist. That's my first, before anything else comes along. And one of the things I found when I really looked at what I was doing is a very, very basic lesson that you learn when you're standing up on stage performing for people is that the silences are at least as important as the actions. Taking time between the words, the silence between the notes are just as important as the notes themselves. Otherwise, it's just cacophony.
You don't have music, you have meh.
And you need the beats between. You need to pause to let the audience absorb what you've said to them. In speaking, I know you know this, that you don't just constantly blah, 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 point. You give and you let them accept it. You get, and you have, the accoutrements of the trade to, comedy is timing.
It's timing,
right? And that is true in business as well. You need to schedule the downtime. You need to allow for the downtime, the reflection time, the not going, and you give better quality to your clients if you give yourself that time to rest.
Well, and I think that's what this taught us too, right? Because again, I mean, you mentioned, and especially anybody who's a creative, right? We tend to just be busy all the time, feeling like we have to be busy. We always have to be doing, but those sparks of inspiration only come when we're sitting there in the silence, right? Because it can't get in. If our cup is already full, you can't put more water in it. And so, but it is, it's very uncomfortable. I know I felt that way. Kathy just expressed that. I'm guessing you did too, Hannibal, that, at first it's what the fuck am I doing? I gotta be doing, but then you open up and these new things come in that you never would have anticipated before.
I'm a performer. I've got to perform. Do you? Can you take some time? Can you smell the roses? summer of 2020, wandering around YouTube, I discovered baking and making bread, and things that you can do just to not so much keep yourself busy, but give yourself a focus of a thing to create if you're unable to create. And I after a couple of days, I'm like, I have bread and muffins and stuff I'm not going to be able to eat all by myself. Because it's great. Yeah, this is awesome. My hand's doing a thing, and it's very inexpensive, and it allows me to create a thing. So I put a basket together and put on a mask and walked down to the corner of my neighborhood and distributed sour bread and muffins to the ladies who were working the corners, because they weren't getting any business. And I'm like, hashtag bread for hookers. Here you go. And they were really appreciative. Like, nobody, why are you bringing us bread and muffins? Because I have a bunch, and you're the only people I see out doing a thing, and you look hungry. You want some,
That's really cool.
But right, you find find someone to give it.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because like you said with the baking, it's we're doing something, but it's not a high cognitive level activity. And so a lot of times things like, baking, gardening, whatever, we all have our own little things, right? But that those kind of things, if we'll actually take time to do some of those, banal, if you will, conscious things, that even those activities are a way of sitting in some way that allows this to flow into us as well, right?
It absolutely is. And it tends to unlock, they're very similar places in the brain. And it tends to, if you're not focused on, I need to create this new act, I need to create this new card trick, or whatever I'd like to do. If you put that aside and focus on this, it gives the brain breathing room, and it sparks more creativity in your own downtime. So it's a beneficial all the way around.
Well, and then this also comes down, you had said something, Hannibal, about, you're a performer, you have to perform. This comes down to our identity and how we find value in ourselves. And it's these outside labels. I remember when I left acting and moved up to Santa Barbara, I didn't know what I was doing. It was the first time in my life where I didn't have this really clear focus. I didn't have this external identity. And so when people, of course, would ask the question, what do you do? Because that's what we say to everybody. I go, oh, I used to be an actor in LA, because I was still so tied to that identity. Well, what happens when that identity goes away? What happens when I'm not a massage therapist, when I'm not a coach, when I'm not a speaker, when I'm not an actor? I had, when I was doing theater back in Pittsburgh, I was in Oklahoma, because we were all in Oklahoma. And the woman who was playing the lead, Laurie, she had the most incredible voice. She actually ended up with a record contract. And I remember sitting with her one night at the end of a show, and I said, how did you get, where did this voice come from? And she said, I was a competitive gymnast. I was on the way to going to the Olympics. And at the Olympic trial, she slipped off the balance beam and broke her neck. And her life and career were over. And she went through this horrible depression because her identity was wrapped up in, I'm a gymnast, I'm going to the Olympics. That's all she knew. And what that opened up for her when she went through, physical therapy and occupational therapy, and she had to learn to walk again and all this stuff, is she realized she had this voice that was like healing to people. And she ended up with a record contract. And then she ended up going back to school to study occupational therapy. And that became her new direction. So what happens when you have that identity and you can't do it anymore? We have to go back to the being and not the doing. And I think COVID also is an opportunity for us to just be. Just be.
It's so hard to just be, but it is a crucial part of resilience and persistence. You can't keep the engine running constantly. Yeah, that's a great story.
Well, it's interesting because I was going to say on that identity, because I heard you use a term. I mean, because again, I always think Hannibal, magician. Right? But I heard you use the term performance artist. So has maybe something over, is that one of those maybe little identity shifts that you've even made this last year or two of, thinking, or was that something that was already there? But like I said, you use that term, and I kind of went, well, yeah, that's what you are. But
Yeah.
I don't like labels, but
Not the
we
blue
all
book.
kind of get labeled a little bit, right? Is that
Yeah, we
kind of
do.
an
We do.
evolution that you've made as well, do you think? Or
Can you tell me who you are without telling me what you do?
yeah.
I've been on stage since I was 6 years old, performing on a stage. I didn't start doing magic tricks in my performance until I was 27. So there was a big gap in there where I was learning stagecraft and learning how to be on stage, learning how to speak, and all the other things that come along with it. And it has been noted, the entertainment director at the castle, when the last time I performed in the parlor, which is the medium-sized venue for those of you. There's a big venue, there's a tiny venue, and there's the medium-sized. That's the parlor. The entertainment director came down after my first performance and said, "You talk a lot, but I'm not telling you not to, because it's engaging, and I love the story." But he said, of your 18-minute set, you didn't do any magic until 6 minutes and 14 seconds in. And all the rest of that was story and building up, and everybody was on the edge of their seats. So keep doing that. But just so you know, it's the magic castle. Got it. Understood. But no, it is the full performance. It's not just, and that is tricky, isn't it? Magician, but how do you label the magic? It's the storyline and the arc and what happens between opening and closing.
Yeah.
It's more than just, here's a bunch of tricks.
Yeah.
There's some nifty stuff that I know how to do, And
I've seen every trick. It's pretty, because I've been going to the castle for so long. So it is pretty rare that I go, oh my God, I've never seen that. Or it's a slight variation on the thing. What makes it interesting to me is the story that they weave around that. It's the pattern. It's the, how do they build up to, oh, and it's 4 jacks. How do they build up to, the card, you move the cards, the coins are gone. What is the story that's crafted around that? It's the same, it's the same 120 tricks. It's the, what you create around that trick to make it interesting. That's, to me, what I love so much about the castle. That's why I keep going back. Everyone's like, oh my God, you're going back again. Haven't you seen it all? No.
I've seen it all. But there's the difference in between doing the routine and I had a thought and it totally flew away because COVID brain. It's not just the adventures of the props.
Yeah.
It's not just I have cards that do neat things. It's here's a piece of me. Here's a story that is meaningful to me. Whenever you get up in front of people, whether you're performing, if you're a mime, if you're a clown, a magician, a juggler, a speaker, you're telling a story. Whether you want to or not, you're telling the audience something about yourself. And have you taken the moment to consider what it is you're saying and what you're putting forward? And then doing that without an audience. I mean, I tried Zoom. I tried the virtual magic thing, and my performance style is so intimate that it just doesn't translate well, something like this. So I got to know myself better, and that is translating into what is coming forward now. What the art that's coming out of me at this point, which is really exciting.
Well, because it's interesting, you said we're always telling a story about ourselves. And so, the better that we can know ourselves or remember who we are, right, the better that we can bring across that magic in the totality of the performance, right? And it'd be because, again, I mean, 5 different magicians all can do the same trick.
And they do. And they
do. But each one of them is different and brings something different to it because they're bringing a part of themselves to the whole thing. And really, I mean, we all are bringing a part of ourselves to everything we do too.
Art is the act of taking your heart and shining a light on it.
Ooh. Oh, Jason's writing that down.
I'm writing that one down.
We're doing quotes. That's it.
Yeah. Who said that? That was a really good one. Yeah.
Kathy, have you ever been to a venue like, oh, I don't know, the Magic Castle, and seen the exact same trick in the exact same night in different rooms?
Just gonna say that I have indeed been to the castle where I have seen the exact same trick in the exact same, and I love those nights because there's a part of my brain that goes, oh my God, I just saw that. And there's another part of my brain that goes, how's he gonna make that different?
Right.
Like, how is that gonna be not the exact same thing I just saw? I've seen that at least a half a dozen times.
Yeah, exactly. I hope you will. Oh, a Rubik's Cube. How are you?
Pick a card. Did it.
I've still got one from the last room. Can I just use this one? Is that okay?
Yeah, exactly. I'll sign here. It's already signed. Just take it, find it. Yeah.
Find it somewhere else. Go ahead.
Well, and it's so interesting.
It's funny that to if you could coordinate with the other performers in different rooms and go, I'm going to have them select a card at the beginning of the night and sign it, and then just find out who in the room has a signed card and do your trick with their card.
That would be really fun.
That'd be fun.
That would be really fun. Well, and I was thinking, because I've also been in the close-up room where I've been asked to help, and the magician, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. He's blind. Who is the blind magician?
Chad Allen?
No, he actually has a documentary.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. Anyway, I've been asked to help.
Richard Turner.
Thank you, Richard Turner.
Yeah.
He has very little patter. He does trick, 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 and he is mind-blowing. It is just pure, just magic. It is pure. It's just amazing. And he barely says a word.
Yes. And
that's a very different type of thing. Like you, who said you didn't get into your first trick until 6.5 minutes in. It still is engaging and amazing, but there's this mechanical, technical gift, and then there's this storytelling, weave you and get you engaged gift.
Yeah.
And they're both just as fascinating. They're both just as interesting to me.
Well, the philosopher group, Dr. Hook, once said some folks love ham hocks and some folks love pork chops and some folks like vegetable soup. And I think that applies to magic.
Yes.
Well, and
it's the diversity that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, and there's even diversity in what we do too, right? And so again, I mean, you do the same shows over and over again.
Yeah.
But there's slight differences to it as well, right? And it's the same thing, Kathy and I have seen this with speakers who try to memorize their speech, right? And so they're giving the exact same thing every single time. It's not the same, right? Because the more authentic we are, there's gonna be little variations in it. And that's what partly makes it the magic.
Right. And you have to also consider that the audience changes.
Yeah.
And they, in an intimate live performance, they're going to respond. And you cannot script for the unexpected audience response.
Yeah.
And so I have seen I've seen some really, really great scripted performances. Some people do it just beautifully and well. And mostly I think that works on the larger stage where you're a bit more removed from the audience. But then I've seen wooden deliverances because they're sticking so tightly to their script they cannot get across. And if you get them off script, they don't know where to go.
Right.
How do I get back to my words? How do I get back here?
Line.
Pause for laughter.
I'm totally going to throw in line the next time I do a live performance. Just stop.
Please.
People are going to be like, who the hell, where's the person who's supposed to be leading the line, right?
Right.
It's hilarious. Of course, we're hitting our time. For not knowing what we're going to talk about, this has been an amazing conversation, talking about mindset and stillness and simplifying, and how we can, our perception, it goes back to perception, our perception of any situation is what actually shapes it. So
precisely, draw from your own well, but don't forget to refill yourself. And that's resilience. Yeah,
another good quote. Okay, next show we're just gonna do Hannibal quotes.
Hannibal quotes, just go streaming across the thing.
Right, exactly right. I've had time to think of a few. I'm done. Sitting and thinking.
Sitting in stillness. Excellent. So any final words, Hannibal? How can people reach you if they want to check out where you're going to be performing, what your stuff is? I know you have a Patreon page.
I do. Everything in my social media is Magic Artist. Patreon /Magic Artist. Instagram, Twitter is all Magic Artist. Venmo is also at Magic Artist. Just, finally, I have an ongoing YouTube vlog which features performances, but also philosophy and also what's going on in my normal life. If you do a search for Hannibal Magician, it pops right up. It's the top of the thing. Nearly 53,000 subscribers, which is crazy.
Wow.
I discovered that quite by accident. When I have how many people following me?
That's so great.
And then all the social media tells where I'm going to be, and then what's going on in my brain.
Ooh.
Magic Artist. Easy to find.
That's the fun part. Awesome. Jason, any last thoughts?
Oh, this is great because again, it's the I love how episodes like this end up going. It's so thank you for coming on because again, it's there's a lot of wisdom in that brain, my friend, and thank you for sharing it. I know that you're going to have 50,001 YouTube subscribers later today. So
maybe so. Yeah. Hannibal the Magic Artist. No, it's really my pleasure. Anytime you guys want to chat, just let me know. Happy to come in and chat.
Cool. Yay. Well, we appreciate you and everything that you do and everything you share. I'm Kathy Groover. I can be reached at kathygruver.com.
And I'm Jason Mefford. I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. So go out this week, hook up with Hannibal. He's got lots of great stuff out there, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. See ya.
See ya.
Peace out. Thanks, guys.